Hey John, how are you? How's it going?
It's a beautiful, beautiful day, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on today. How's the weather in New Jersey?
Um, it's going to be a perfect 4th of July weekend. Sunny mid 80s, cool at night, very few clouds.
Very cool.
Perfect.
Perfect East Coast for the July
Perfect East
weekend, huh?
Coast. You got it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today. I'm really excited to get to interview you and learn more about your background and what you guys do with Boathouse. But before we talk about Boathouse, like I'd love to hear, your your background, your story, and obviously you've accomplished a lot as an athlete. But let's go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Went to Atlantic City High School, Marietta College out in southeastern Ohio, which is where I learned to row. And I
Very
went out
cool.
there to get a petroengineering degree, which at the time in the 70s was the highest paying job coming out of college. And
Wow.
to the best of my knowledge, you know what the highest paying job coming out of college was last year?
What's that?
Petroengineering.
Petro engineering.
The oil business is lucrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so Marietta College, and I was working in the oil industry for a couple of years, and then a job brought me to Philly. I started, after rowing 4 years in college, I started rowing again in Philadelphia because it's the center of rowing in the United States, or one of the centers of rowing in the United States. And I was just doing it at the club level and having fun, but got a bug up my ass to try and make the Olympic team. And sometime late 1982, I started training like a maniac. 1983, I made the Pan American team, which is sort of the B team. But I was wearing a United States outfit representing the country at the Pan Ams, got a silver medal, and now I was sort of on the board, so to speak, of world class athletes in America in the sport of rowing. And the selection process for the '84 Olympics was very deep because so many rowers continued to train after the boycotted '80 Olympics. You might not be old enough to remember the
I
boycott of
remember that.
'80
Yeah, I
Olympics.
mean, I wasn't around, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
So anyway, I went to the identification camp on the East Coast, which was at Princeton. The one on the West Coast was in Long Beach, and the coach at the time was who's now a good friend of mine, was the head coach of Wisconsin, Randy Jablonic. And at the Princeton camp, I tested well. I was in the top third, but Randy Jablonic walked up to me and said, "John, that was damn good. Pulled a great piece, but you're never going to make the Olympic team. You're too small." So I've heard stuff like that before, what you can't do. But I just kept training, and then by stroke of luck, the U.S. rowing governing body, after a decade of relatively mediocre performance at the world level, decided to hire somebody from outside of the country. So Randy Jablonic was no longer going to be the Olympic coach. They hired a guy by the name of Chris Korzanowski. Chris Korzanowski was a Polish expatriate who had coached the Italian team to success, and now he was the new U.S. rowing men's Olympic head coach. And Chris didn't care whether he went to Michigan, Marietta, Harvard, Hartford, whatever. He just wanted to know whether you could move a boat. And I started training under his program and went through the spring of 1984 in the selection process, and in the end got in a pair with a guy by the name of Dave DeRuff, who came out of Korzanowski's program also. We went to the pairs trials. We won the pairs trials for the Olympics, and off to the Olympics we went for the first time. In LA, it was an extraordinary fun Olympics. Every Olympics has a personality. LA's was total Hollywood. Raced well, got to the finals, didn't medal, but raced well, exceeded expectations. But what happened in LA and how I ended up in business occurred inside the tunnel walking into the opening ceremonies. So I had 4.5 years of college education. I was in the oil business for 2.5 years. as they send us into the opening ceremonies, the host country is always last. Greece is always first, the host country is always last, and they send us in an ascending order. In the front is the gymnasts, in the back is the basketball team, and this was the last pure amateur basketball team, and it was Michael Jordan's coming out party.
Oh, wow.
So we're back. Most rowers are about 6'6", so we're back with the basketball team. As the gymnasts enter the Coliseum, this USA, USA, USA starts rolling down the tunnel. And I take about 10 steps inside that tunnel and decide then and there I'm going to quit my 4.5 years of education and my corporate job, and I'm going to train to win a gold medal in Seoul. Regardless of how I do here in LA, I'm going to train and win a gold medal in Seoul. And I kept that promise to myself, so when I got back to Philly after the Olympics, I was still training. I quit my corporate job in February. I realized 2 days later that I wanted to work, because I don't care what sport you're successful in, you can only train the body intensely, maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours a day, with few exceptions, And the other reason I wanted to work is, despite making a lot of money, I spent it all. And I had to eat, I had to put like 9,000 calories a day in me. I had to eat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I knew there was I believe there was a niche out there for rowing clothes. And when I got to Philadelphia, I asked people, where do you get rowing clothes? And they said, well, you get it from the manager upstairs, which meant I rowed out of Vesper Boat Club. They had Vesper gear. They bought it in bulk. And so if you went to a college or a high school or a club, you had access to rowing clothes. So I asked the question, what if you're not part of a club? Where do you get rowing clothes? And nobody could answer that question. So within a few days of quitting my job and realized I wanted to work, I took some of the rowing trow and shirts and things that I had been given on the Olympic team, and I found a mill in Warrington, Pennsylvania called Yarrington Knitting Mills, who is still one of my suppliers.
Wow.
And I took the garments down to South Philly, where at the time there were hundreds of custom tailors. And there are still dozens of custom tailors in South Philly. And I took them to a few and said, can you make this? So within a couple of days I had rowing shorts and rowing shirts, and I essentially created the first rowing company in the country. Rowers don't really need much more than a pair of shorts, socks, and a shirt to row in, but every sport wants all their stuff. So I assembled a catalog that I hand drew, because didn't have the technology with which to do anything creative. And I used a typeset machine, because didn't have a computer that could spit out a Word doc or anything.
You were doing direct mail before.
I put everything I could find that was wrong. Yeah, put everything I could find that was rowing related in this catalog. Went to the 2 biggest rowing events in the country, stood there and passed out catalogs to anybody that I could reach. And Boathouse Sports was born as a rowing company.
Wow, and what year was that?
1985.
Wow.
Should I continue?
Yes, absolutely.
So, and again, the idea of Boathouse Sports was to cater to the individual rower. And rowing, mind you, is a small sport. Even today, it's a small sport in the grand scheme of things. So the first year, 85, I think I did about maybe $300,000, and I knew I found a niche. And the second year, when I went to the World Championships, I shipped a bunch of clothes over there, and when the races were over, I asked a bunch of athletes, Americans, Australians, Germans, you guys want some free beer? And I said, yeah, we want free beer. All you got to do is put these clothes on and let me take pictures of you, So I took pictures the second year, built a catalog. This year did about $700,000. The third year, I think I used a professional. And by the end of 87, we're doing about $1 million, right? But what I realized in the $1 million in this rowing catalog is about 75% of it's now bulk. So instead of just selling to individuals, I've got schools. Where'd you go to school, for instance, may I ask?
Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
The banana slugs.
No, we're the Mustangs. So
Oh,
that's banana slugs are Santa Cruz.
oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Well, I don't think St. Louis Obispo has
There's no
a
rowing team that
rowing
slow.
team,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
so he's getting orders from Michigan for navy trow and navy and gold
yeah.
shirts, and University of Vermont for forest green trow and green and white shirts, and Harvard and blah 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 blah. 75% of the business now is bulk, right? And so I started to realize that the real opportunity here might be the team business, and so that's how I pointed the company. And in '85 World Championships, in '86 I'm rowing at the Goodwill Games and the World Championships, in '87 at the World Championships, and lots of international regattas, and gearing up for Seoul, right? And I've won a lot of medals. Expect to win a medal in the 8 at Seoul, Korea. The head coach, Chris Korzanowski, talks me into rowing in a different boat to make it faster. Maybe the worst decision or agreement I ever made, because it cost me a medal at the Olympics, but
Oh
it's
man.
all right because I still rode the best race of my life. We just didn't have the big enough horses in the boat. But when I got back from Seoul, I realized that the vast portion of our business was bulk, and it was bulk for one jacket in particular, the Stevenson rowing jacket. And the Stevenson rowing jacket was about 75% of the bulk business, and it was about 60% of the entire business. But more importantly, the Stevenson jacket was migrating into other sports: lacrosse, rugby, track and field, et cetera, et cetera. So in 1990, I changed the company from a rowing company to become the best custom outerwear manufacturer on earth. And beginning in late 91, the only thing we were doing is making custom outerwear, which included jackets, pants, parkas, warm-up suits, Gore-Tex rain gear, Gore-Tex pants, and everything bespoke, completely bespoke. So what were your school colors?
They were green and gold.
Did you play any sports?
Yeah, I was a swimmer, D1 distance swimmer.
All right. So your school could have ordered from us swim parkas in green and gold. We would have, could have been solid green or green and gold on the outside. We could have sublimated a pattern on the inside, hooded, long, everything a swimmer needs, especially in California because you guys tend to swim outdoors.
Yep.
And we would
It's
deliver
cold.
custom outerwear with all the branding the school wanted on it in 18 days, made in USA. And so the objective, our goal was to literally be the best custom outerwear company on earth. And not necessarily the best outerwear company, great outerwear companies, Patagonia, North Face, Columbia, et cetera, but the best custom outerwear on earth. And I would say by 1997 we achieved that because by 97, at this point, football is our biggest market. We're outfitting the entire NFL. We're outfitting 60 of the top 70 D1 football teams. We're outfitting 20 of the top D1 track teams, 19 of the top D1 lacrosse teams on the men's side, 20 of the top 20 on the women's side. All the rowing teams, of course, because they're near and dear our hearts. The brands were buying from us. We were outfitting U.S. men's and women's soccer team with outerwear. We made it, had a Nike logo on it. We outfitted the United States rugby teams through the 90s. We made it, had a Reebok logo on it.
Also, was that because these teams were being sponsored by
Yeah.
Nike and Reebok, yet Nike and Reebok didn't make those products? I'm
Yeah, they
assuming,
did.
right?
They wanted us to make it because we
Yeah.
could make it better than them.
That's awesome.
And we did. The NFL stuck with us for, was still with us a little bit, but we started with the NFL back in the days of Starter, and then Apex won, and then Nike and Adidas got into NFL licensing in the 90s, but only for a brief time because they realized how hard it was to make money. Then Puma took it over, and then Logo Athletic, and the Reebok took over the NFL from, I think, 2005 to 2015. And then Nike got the deal. And Nike's been the head-to-toe supplier in the NFL for the last 8 years. And they don't play as nicely as the others. They're trying not to let the teams buy from Boathouse, but some of the teams just insist because our stuff's better, even though they have to pay us, and they get it for free from Nike. So, again, by the mid-'70s, best custom outerwear on earth. By the mid-'90s. And the first 20 years of the business was fun and easy. And then things changed.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
The shoe brands, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Nike led this, and it really started in about 1999 when they signed their first big deal with the University of North Carolina to be the sponsor of the school. You know, well, by the call it 2005, 2007, we saw what was happening, and the shoe brands essentially are building moats around every school in the country. And a lot of people think it's because it's a marketing play, and in some cases it is. When they're doing Penn State or Michigan or Florida State or Stanford or, Boston College, Boston U, the big schools, it's somewhat of a marketing play.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Those schools have so much attention that it's media dollars, right? It's like you put a logo on an athlete, and there's this many games, there's this much it's televised. There's an impression value that adds to that. Yeah.
So it is a marketing play, and now with NIL, it might be more of a marketing play, but a different one. And I haven't figured out yet with NIL if that's going to give us opportunity or less. But what really is going on here is the shoe brands lost their pipeline. Their pipeline were sporting goods stores, and the first one to go down was the biggest one, the Sports Authority. And then Gart's, and then Southwest Sports, and then this, and
Sports Chalet,
Oshman, Sports Chalet. They all went out of business. The only one left standing now is Dick's.
Yep.
But what the shoe brands realized is, and I'll use a local school, Temple, as an example. Temple, I think, currently has a deal with Under Armour. Temple probably gets, $6 to $8 million worth of free product, most of which goes to football and basketball. Maybe a little bit of cash, but it's mostly product in kind, If you look at Temple, they have 30,000 undergrads, so that's 7,500 a year graduating. So that those 30,000 undergrads have parents. That's another 60,000 people. There's 90,000. You got 50 years of alumni, and let's round it. We'll say 7,000 a year. That's 350,000. You now have a 450,000 community, and then there's other people. So the school Temple, with all its brick and mortar, is a community of about 500,000 people. And if the shoe brands can force everybody in the Temple community, whether they're on the campus or elsewhere, to buy Temple by striking a deal with the school, it's a great business for them, because that brick and mortar is not going down, Not only that, but it's easier to manage because Temple hasn't changed its colors in 150 years, nor has any other school in the country. So that's the real play. Schools have become the new brick and mortar for the shoe brands, and Nike's the one that figured it out first. They do it the best. I know they do it profitably, but it's gone to the level now where the smallest schools in the country, we have a deal with Nike, and they don't really have a deal with Nike. They have a deal with a Nike team distributor who gives them a couple of $1,000s worth of free product. In return, they do everything to prevent competition, right? In my opinion, it's classic anti-competitive behavior because the customer doesn't have choice and they're paying much more than they would in the open market. But everybody's complicit, so not much we can do about it. Try to win the battle by being a better company, which is how we do. But it still has made it a lot harder. So the first step for us, we did more than jackets. We introduced uniforms in 2007 using sublimation as the technology, the backbone for our uniform business. At the time, sublimation was very limited. and people assumed it had or there were a lot of quality issues with sublimation. But 5 years ago, sublimation was probably 20% of the uniforms. 5 years from now, it'll be 95% of all uniforms. And then to become more, and that the point of that was to become more relevant to the buyer, the team buyer, because just outerwear to some extent is just it's a luxury for a team. You don't have to have it to compete. In particular, swimming, you're not going to wear your parka in the pool.
Yeah.
But you love that parka because it said
Love it. Yeah.
it said you were part of a bigger thing. It protected you. It kept you warm. It set you up for your next race. It was party,
Yeah, I
We added
remember
your,
there was some mornings where it was in California, Central Coast of California. It was 34 degrees, and I was riding my bike to school wearing my parka to go jump in outside, and it was
yeah.
freezing. Yeah,
So we added uniforms to become more relevant to the team buyer to fight back against the brands, and then we added sweats and tees and some of the basic stuff. That gave us momentum in the teens. But as we got to about 2017, it's harder and harder, and our sales guys still, they're greeted almost everywhere with "We're not allowed to buy from you. We have a deal with so and so." But the product we make is such high quality. We can deliver so fast. We can do many colors. There's still a lot of availability for Boathouse to grow in the team business, but we're challenged at every step. So in 2017, I started thinking about retail and taking this company that has outfitted over 20 million athletes coming out of the best schools in the country and addressing them at the consumer side. And we launched first online, direct-to-consumer retail apparel, and then we really started to go to the bookstore market in 2020, and then COVID came along, and COVID hit us hard. Number one, we were shut down by the governor of the state as being non-essential. We did bounce back 10 days later making PPE. So the company, through most of 2020, built PPE masks and seamless gowns for surgical procedures. We were very popular early on because we were the only people that could find the materials to make masks anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic. In fact, we couldn't make them fast enough, and I had a lot of hospital presidents really mad at me because we were shipping to Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, Penn Hospital, and Jefferson, and we couldn't fill their needs, let alone all the other hospitals around here, But anyway, by the fall of 2020, we were allowed to start making apparel again, but our market was shut down. Our entire market was schools and sports teams. All schools were closed.
schools were closed. Yeah.
And it wasn't for a year and a half till
sports weren't performing. Yeah, they weren't competing. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody was getting together. But we were back in business as an athletic company, but the market wasn't back. So I doubled down on retail and hired a CEO to come in and build a retail business. She managed the business okay, but didn't get us very far in retail. So that's what we're trying to do now. I'm trying to get Boathouse to run into the customers, our 20 million athletes that we delivered over 25 years. We know who they are, we know where they are. We just have to get them to realize we're now making product for the consumer. And it's going okay. I got to figure out how to accelerate the growth in the consumer side faster.
Yeah. And is it right now, is the retail business just direct to consumer online, or are you guys working with any brick and mortar? Thank you for sharing all that. Like, that was just an incredible journey that you've been at this since the mid 80s, So like where we're at now, like where do you, obviously you've been in business for what, almost 40 years? Yeah, unbelievable. That's so remarkable. Where do you want to take this thing over the next few years?
Well, the key again, I think the key business or the core business, the team business will grow. It'll grow modestly, but we really
Yeah.
want to grow the retail business. And we make great product. And by the way, everything's made in the USA. So we have 100,000 square foot vertically integrated factory where we employ. Pre-COVID, we had about 250 craftspeople making all the
Wow.
garments. It's been hard to get back to 200. I think we're at about 150. I don't know what people are doing. We pay well. We have great benefits. We always did. We're paying much more now than we did pre-COVID. But it's a vertically integrated factory. Everything's made in Philly, and we're a lean enterprise. So we produce product usually in about 18 working days, 18 to 20 working days. So um, I know that Boathouse has brand recognition out there again because we've outfitted 20 million athletes coming out of the best schools in the country. We did studies, or third parties did studies that found that Boathouse brand recognition is equal to that of Viore or Helly Hansen or Peter Millar, who hover in the mid 20s, as opposed to Nike, where there's 100% brand awareness, and Reebok might be 98%, and North Face, Patagonia are in the high 60s, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's recognition out there. We have to make sure we're building the right product, merchandising it correctly, telling the stories, creating good content, and getting in front of people.
So what are some of the challenges that you guys are running into with growing the direct consumer business right now?
Um, one of the challenges is finding enough employees to build the product and meet demand. Um,
Wow.
we're adding, but not fast enough. We've identified the channels we want to go after on the consumer side. We'll do that with rep groups. Um, so, one of the challenges now is I need to get reps who can carry the lines to retailers. Our targets are bookstore, destination, resort, boutique shops. We'll start there. Eventually, try to get into Nordstrom's and Neiman Marcus, at the other end, and in between are Paragon Sports or Dick's Sports or Darien Sports, those type of stores. Um, we think we can continue to make it in the USA. I think at some point, especially with the bigger retailers, that may not matter. So, we really need to create the awareness of the brand and what we stand for. Um, I think as the volume grows, if we get over 50 million, then we're going to have to start looking offshore because I just don't think we're going to find the capacity in the U.S.
And the volume. It's so interesting hearing you say that as someone who's been manufacturing in the US for so long. Because, obviously, like with my business, I work with a lot of brands that manufacture predominantly offshore. And, with everything that's been going on with the tariffs over the last few months, it's obviously caused a lot of turmoil because, there's just a lack of capacity to be
Yeah.
able to get the resources, and you get into specialty manufacturing. And I've used this example a couple times now, but like I have a client that makes free diving wetsuits. They're a free diving spearfishing marketplace based out of Southern Florida, and there's only one warehouse in China, one manufacturing facility in China that manufactures all of the free diving wetsuits made out of a special Japanese foam called the Yamamoto foam.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just replicate that capability overnight.
No.
It's the one factory that all the manufacturers use. It's just different brands. So
Right.
it's interesting to hear that. And then obviously, I think we're living in a world now where it's like still, I mean, made in USA still stands for something, right? It's kind of like, you know, it's like you look at the restaurant industry now and, it's, what kind of oils are you using? What kind of fats are you cooking with?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's the same thing. It's like, are you cooking with seed oils? Or are you cooking with beef tallow? So it's like there's a level of quality that it still stands for, but it's interesting to hear that the challenge is finding the labor, right? To
Right.
actually hit capacity.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
it. The Made in USA thing. It's interesting because it isn't what you just said. It's like people do want to know what's the source of the food more, you know.
Yeah.
But what they the element they don't have in that is the price, right? Um, Pre-COVID, I'd say well, maybe 1% of the consumers cared if it was made in the U.S. I think post-COVID, right after COVID, it rose a lot, and now it's 3 or 5%. It's still not much. I think all things being equal, people would love to buy made in USA, but it still comes down to price. You know, um, I can buy a nice hooded sweatshirt, 10.5 ounce sweatshirt from a distributor that's made in Asia someplace. I can buy it for $14, right? We're making our sweats. Georgia cotton's coming from Georgia. Knitting's done in the Carolinas. Cut and sew is here in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. We don't actually make those in our factory because our factory is more technical gear, but it's made in the USA, and I can make it for $21, 22. Oh no, the hoodie's 25. You know,
Yeah.
so it's twice the price of the one I can import. And I think when it comes to apparel, people pay a lot of attention to price. You know, but even making it in the USA, some of the stuff we make, Mark, Gore-Tex in particular. So we can make Gore-Tex either custom or not, and sell it at a price lower than if you bought a Gore-Tex North Face jacket, certainly lower than a Patagucci jacket or lower than a Arc'teryx jacket. Um, we can make our Gore jacket in Philly, materials, labor, overhead for about probably $85. And I can source it from Asia, China, not now with the tariffs, but and I get it probably for $10 less. And that's mostly because the fabric is so expensive, you know?
Yeah.
So we can make Gore-Tex and sell it for actually less than the North Face or Patagucci, you know? And ours is as good, if not better, because the fabric is coming from the same source, from W.L. Gore, you know?
Yeah. I'm
But
curious, have you guys ever done any work in the ski and snowboard outerwear market?
we make
Yeah.
gear for ski teams,
Yeah.
but we've not gone at that market yet. Um, uh, it's a little more technical. It's got a lot of needle in it, what I call a lot of needle. So one of the things we have to be very conscious of when we design products is how much sewing time goes into it, because
Totally.
we're paying 18 to $20 an hour for a sewer. In Mexico, they're still under $1. So the more needle that's in it, the more it's going to cost us. So while I think our Gore-Tex jackets perform better, as good or better than anybody's, but we just don't have as much needle in it. You know, there's not all these seams that are mostly for fashion or pit zippers or this stuff or that stuff. They're very functional. But so that might be the one thing that keeps us out of ski, at least making technical ski stuff, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, we do and are looking at a partnership with an Italian company that makes the speed suits for skiers. And they want they would provide the fabric. We would do the cut, the sublimation, and the sew for U.S. ski teams, college ski teams, that kind of thing. So that might be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see where that market has gone, because there's been a lot of consolidation as well,
Yeah.
and a lot of brands that are getting eaten up by private equity and really spit out when things don't go right. Look at
Yeah.
the surf industry right now. I mean, the group that licensed like 70% of all the surf brands, it's located down the street from me in Costa Mesa, went bankrupt at the beginning of the year.
Who was
you
that?
know, and
I remember that.
that's I forgot the name of the group, but they essentially have the license on Volcom, Billabong, like all the board riders brands, Roxy,
Right.
Captain Finn, like Ruka, like it's really all the surf, all the surf brands make the same stuff.
Yeah.
Little different board short, little different design on a shirt, but it's ultimately the same rinse and repeat thing from the last 30 years, 35
Yep.
years.
Yep.
And things haven't changed much. And it's interesting to see like the introduction of uh, you know, the Vioris of the world that have shifted up, and really eaten their lunch,
Yeah.
because now Vioris being sold in their own, direct consumer, their own retail. They're being sold in every surf shop. They're being sold in every big box store,
Yeah.
and these surf brands have struggled to keep up with the times.
They've
Yeah,
gone far. They've gone far fast. Fiore has. Um,
yeah. It's
Good
interesting.
brand.
One of my friends was consulting with them just in 2019, 2020, like on helping them run their ads.
Yeah.
And it's wild to see the growth that they had over the last 5 years. I mean, that's a substantial run that I don't think anyone in the fashion apparel space can compare to. Like,
Right.
that was an incredible run. That blew, the run that Lululemon had out of the water. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think Fiore's. I think when they got started, I think their idea was to be the Lululemon for men. You know.
Yeah, I mean their whole idea, it was very simple. It was like, we're tired of we're guys that like to surf, and we're tired of wearing our board shorts to go to the gym and go to yoga in. So it's like, let's make shorts that we can also do other things in without having. And I remember I used to be, I'm the perfect market for Viore. I used to be the guy that was wearing my board shorts to the gym all the time,
Yeah.
and they really transformed that athletic short market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good story.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on today, John. This was awesome getting to hear your story. I mean,
It's not over. Ain't done yet. When I hit 100 million in retail sales, that's when I might be done.
That's awesome. I know you probably feel like you're just getting started.
The retail consumer side is a startup. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
4 years into it, but we stumbled too many times. Well, actually, 5 years into it, we'll call it. Stumbled and got COVIDed. You know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how's the direct consumer business doing online for you guys?
It's good. I'm struggling with how much we're spending trying to attract customers, build a list, get conversion, blah blah blah. You know,
Yeah.
it's not nearly as easy as it was 10 or 20 years ago. I mean, I have a couple friends who started early on in a niche. One in particular, Revzilla, was motorcycle afterparts, and Tony Anthony. All he did, he put all his money into SEO. One thing, that's all he did, and he said, and it was easy because nobody else was doing it, so he could get everybody to find his brand. You know. By the time I talked to him to ask him if he could help us, he said it's not that easy anymore. I probably had 10 people. You know, he scaled it. He said, if there were 10 people in my world, today you have 10 million because everybody's online, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been we got to get better at building content and the right content. I think that will help dramatically.
Yeah.
And we got to get better at telling our story because we got a great story to tell. I mean, the company's Olympic heritage, made the Olympian. We've been making authentic athletic product for the best teams in the world for damn near 40 years. We're 100% made in USA. We employ a great group of people. We're, got all kinds of stories. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of heritage and pedigree and everything that you guys have done over the last 40 years. Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Yeah, it's interesting how the just even the D2C market over the last decade, like, when I was running ads back in 2015, you know, I remember clients that were afraid to spend more than 150 to $200 a day on meta ads, and we were getting conversions for we were getting a 50 to $80 conversion for $3 to $5. And now
big deal.
an $80 to $100 conversion is costing $30 to $38, and that's the world we live in. So it's if I could go back and tell everyone, go back in the past, and it was literally a cash machine. It was
Yeah.
like you should have spent as many dollars as you could have put on your credit card in in a 48-hour period before you get that money back in your bank and you pay it off. And you do the
Yeah.
same thing over again. Yeah,
Not anymore.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
anymore. So
Well, John, where can people get in touch with you or Boathouse if they're interested in learning more about the brand?
come to boathouse.com. That's boathouse.com. Boathouse,
Awesome.
just like it sounds.
Are you guys active on any socials?
Yeah. I mean, we're on Facebook, Instagram. We for the summer we stopped Google. I don't think we've yet hit TikTok, so it's been a little bit limited. But we're going to accelerate when we get to September. Get through the summer.
Awesome. Very cool. One thing I'll tell you, and I'll actually send you a video I did on this, but you were talking about content production and starting to get into that. The best thing you could do right now is start training the LLMs to understand what Boathouse is, what you guys do, who you guys sell to. The LLMs being all the different AI models.
Right.
And these AI models are all starting to release their own product feeds. So similar to how Google, Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, like all these social platforms and shopping platforms have product feed integrations. They haven't released it publicly yet, but you want to get on the wait list. Because once those public feeds are live, you're going to want to integrate in with the back end of your e-commerce platform so they can start making product recommendations, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
Are you going to send me a video on this?
Yeah, I'll send you a video on it. Yeah.
'Cause I can only take notes so quickly.
No, I'll send you a video and it has a link to where you can sign up. But it's that's kind of when we talk about where the evolution of platforms are going. It's funny, in another 10 years, I'm sure we'll all say, man, I wish we just spent as much as we could on these platforms today, right? It's always that thing. You don't know how good it is until you're in the future. But when I look at opportunities, especially with where we're at, I'm predicting that, AI is going to be the number one recommendation engine for users making product, asking for product recommendations and reviews in the future.
Yeah.
It's like we've seen millennials were on, Instagram and Facebook, and Gen Z has now gone to TikTok for everything from product recommendations to restaurant recommendations. But I see there's going to be a massive shift whereas as AI becomes a pivotal piece of everyone's daily life for task management to recommendations to this and that. They're going to be like, hey, I'm looking for these shorts. I want something that's high quality, that's made in the USA, that's between this price. Can you recommend me 3 to 5 options, right? Boom, pops up. Your feed's integrated. You follow all the best practices. It's like, it's going to be a mix of content marketing and technical SEO. That's now going to be moved into LLM SEO, large language model SEO in the future.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to watch that.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, thanks, John. Appreciate it. I'll put links to the to your website and your socials, obviously in the show notes. But it was great having you on today, and I really enjoyed getting to learn more about you and the brand.
Mark, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Have
Thanks,
a
John.
great day.